welcome back to another live stream. Today we're going to be taking a look back at this last weekend where I was in Philadelphia at PAX Unplugged, which is a board gaming convention that happens every year in that wonderful city. Usually it is the week after Thanksgiving. They did move the schedule around a little bit this year so that we actually had it the week before Thanksgiving, and I will say I liked it at that time so much more. I am, looking to go into Thanksgiving kind of festivities tomorrow, probably traveling to see some family. And in the last, I don't know, I think I went in 21, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this would be my 5th year going to PAX Unplugged. And every year that I go to PAX Unplugged, I have the previous week spent the week with my family at Thanksgiving. And it feels like this is kind of on the horizon. I'm always kind of thinking about how to prepare, what I need to be doing when I get back. And now that PAX Unplugged is over, I get to go into Thanksgiving with a much more relaxed output on what all is happening. And so I really liked the change. I think the change did come with a little bit higher cost associated with like the hotels of PAX. The marathon was the same weekend. So the Philadelphia Marathon ran on Sunday. The half ran on Saturday. So that did throw a little bit of more cost as well as foot traffic into the equation. It was fun. They were running the signups for not the signups, but the packet pickup where you would go and you would get all the information and all your bib number and everything that you would need for the marathon on Friday. And so there's this clash of cultures happening at the convention center because they were hosting it out of the other half of the convention center. And so we would have like on the street corner, you'd see us or like the PAX people. And then all of a sudden there's like all the marathoners just like at the same spot. It was a good time. What's up? How you doing, Lee Davis? Hope you had a fantastic weekend. But yeah, it was good. I drove this year. I had driven 1 year previously, and I decided not to do that just because cost of driving actually outweighed that of flying with the tolls through Pennsylvania, and then parking is just absolutely brutal. Last time I drove, I paid $75 a day to park. This year, I had a friend who allowed me to park at their place, so that saved me a lot of money, but the garage that I would have parked at, because I was thinking about just sitting there for a night, would have been $69. It costs a lot to park. So historically, I have flown. The person I've stayed with flew, but just like with the state of air traffic at the time when I was buying tickets, I wasn't 100% sure what that was going to look like. So I felt like it was better to drive. So I drove back yesterday. I got back in super late, watched F1 qualifying last night, and then watched the race this morning. Love that the new campaign boxes fear no evil with a deaf hero and a blind hero. I don't think I realized that Echo was blind. That makes a lot of sense. But that's cool. Or no, wait, deaf hero. I don't think I realized that Echo was deaf. Daredevil is blind. That's a key component to his backstory. It's basically the monkeys see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. That's cool. What's up, Matt? How's it going? Why is my name showing up? I'm supposed to be Wikipedia. I do not know. I have no idea. YouTube be crazy sometimes. Well, awesome. Okay, Wikipedia. Nice. That is weird that it's not. Weird. So ended up driving last night. Long drive, very boring drive, very straight. It was like, I remember the GPS on the way there. It was like in 250-ish miles. Take a slight right was one of. I was like, ugh, yikes. What's up? Great time playing the gang Saturday night. That was a fun time. Oh my gosh, the gang is so good. I think we've talked about it a couple of times on stream before, but the gang is cooperative poker, and we have been playing so much of that game to the point where I probably just need to go ahead and buy a new copy. Now, I could probably just buy a deck of cards, but it is fun to support the Cosmos. the production of the game. I didn't want to show you the badge. I'm going to go down. That's the right button. Hey, it worked. I got this cool button. So it's a Marvel Champions Civil War button. So you have Cap, but it's also like it's magnetic, and you can flip it around and have the registration side of Iron Man. That was pretty cool. That was the only button I got. I did get a cheese. Don't even remember what these are called. Banner or whatever. I got a cheese banner. I went to a cheese party. I enjoyed a lot of cheese and some games, but it was all in all just a absolutely fantastic weekend. PAX is probably my favorite board game convention of the year. I think it has a more relaxed vibe than a lot of the other cons, especially as a content creator. Feels like I had a lot more time to enjoy the con and not necessarily feel like I was working. And so that's just a fantastic, relaxed atmosphere that I appreciate. So I think what we're going to be doing during this stream is we're going to be going through some of the games that I brought home, talking about and showing those off. There's some cool ones. And then I did want to talk more about the in-flight report, which is the announcement that Fantasy Flight, or the program that Fantasy Flight put on, talking about the upcoming releases for all of their product lineups in 2026. We got a lot of information on that, and so I do want to discuss the future of Marvel Champions as well as all of their other titles here. So we'll probably start with a couple of games, talk about that, and then finish off with a couple of games. But I'm gonna first I got my Asmodee beanie. Should I just wear this? There we go, perfect. My wife said I looked like a skater boy when I wore this, but there's a Asmodee media event where in the goodie bags they had an Asmodee beanie. So which was fantastic. It was a really good thing to put in a goodie bag for Philadelphia in November. So there's that. Let's start out with Secret Chronicles. Secret Chronicles was the first game that I actually played. The buddy that I was staying with was demoing this game for Wise Wizard, and so we played it just so he could refamiliarize himself with the rules. And then I enjoyed it so much that I picked it up. So we'll break this open. After getting the Civil War box in hand a week or so ago and really diving into it, I made a prediction of what was going to be released during the PAX stuff. And I was right. Nice. Said that basically no comic preview for the next set, but the specific mention mod sets were the preview that we'd be getting Defenders and Heroes for next hire. Nice. Nice. Ooh. Aha. What's up, Alex? Yes. So we got to play Seekers. I'm going to leave this because it is absolutely gorgeous. Wise Wizard. It's probably most well known for Star Realms, which is their tactical deck building game, head-to-head deck building game, which Alex, my buddy, has played a lot of. But we got to try this game out. And this is I don't even know how to describe this. It is a head-to-head card game where you are attempting to deplete your deck 3 times fastest. So a lot of the interactions are discarding cards from your deck. And once you have discarded your entire deck, you're going through like your hypothesis. So you discard and you go through your deck. You go to evidence. When you do it a third time, or the second time, you go through your evidence. Then you go to conclusion. And then once you deplete your deck for the third and final time, you claim victory. And the gameplay is very TCG-esque, but this is not a TCG. This is, you buy the box, you get everything that is out for the game. Feels like a game which could be highly, highly expandable, so I could see them getting the Star Realms treatment there, where we're going to get more versions of the game, or more versions of like these scientists. But there are 6 scientists in the core game. Whenever you play, you can either draft these, or they do have recommended start setups where you pick, I think these are actually the recommended, so the top row and the bottom row. And you start the game with one of your 3 scientists. So say if I had Richard, Isaac Newton, and James Clerk Maxwell as my scientist, I would get to choose one of those. I'm going to set the others aside, or like the other team aside, just so we can focus on this. So if I choose Isaac Newton, because I'm a big light guy, you would start with Newton here, and then he has a special card, which is up here in the top left. That has that little denotation. It has the Newton picture as well as a little S under it, which maybe starter or special. But you start with that as effectively a resource. And the flow of the game, the rest of these cards get shuffled into a deck. But the flow of the game is mostly taking cards from your resource row and attaching it or linking it to your scientist out here. And the way that you do that is you have a cost here. Come on, focus. That would cost one resource to link to a scientist. So on your turn, you would draw a card, and you start with 1 resource. You can put a card into your resources, and then you can exhaust the card to add a ready resource to one of your scientists. So say if I wanted to exhaust the optical prism, I could attach the strong interaction to Isaac Newton. This has a linked effect. It says your seekers with 2 or more modules. Let's pretend like you already had something. 2 or more modules gets +3 power until the end of the turn. You would check out what power you have here. So Isaac from the Red Giants would have 5 and then 3. And then because he has 2 or more, this turn he would get +3. So for a total of 11 power. You would compare that to the scientist across the table. This would be 4. 11 minus 4 is 7. You would discard 2, 4, 6, 7 cards from your deck. And that's how you discard cards and deplete your deck. You would have multiple resources out here at a time. But once you have 7 power, you can bring in a second scientist to join your team. You get their card. And then you can start battling across this lane as well. So we had this same situation, but we already had Richard out here. We would discard 7 cards from here and then 3 unopposed in this lane for 3 more cards. 1, 2, 3. Pretty quick game. I think it probably took us maybe 20 minutes. Snappy, fun. There's a lot of like really cool interactions. Like when you link this card, you get a resource, and so that's a floating resource. So you can link another card, which could get you a draw 1 card, then gain 3 resources, which would allow you to link the gravity. Or link the Red Giants, which gravity 2, choose a ready module in your memory, link it without paying its cost, which could grab. All seekers have multiple power. You can pull cards back from your discard pile. So there's a lot of really interesting interactions just in like this tiny box, and the combo-ness, the tactical decisions really scratched my brain and made me happy. Feels like a head-to-head game where it's not super combative in the sense that like I'm going to take you out. It is pretty much I need to optimize my engine. And so it feels like a solo game that is opposed, but the tension felt a little bit less than if you are looking at like a TCG where you're like trying to take their hit points down to 0. Yeah, Wikipedia, it did change it. Yep, there you go. Nice. You should rank the heroes we haven't seen anything on for which you're looking forward to the most. Oh yeah, I will. I definitely will. So that's Secret Chronicles. There are ways that you can build decks. There are ways that you can like modify or draft the different variants. There are different types of modules like Cosmos module, there's the Order module, and then there is the Quantum module. And the starter decks have you run one deck of each, but if you're drafting, some of these have like this, the Quantum Vortex says you may move a Quantum module from your hand into your memory. So if you draft another Quantum module, now you have more cards in which interact with each other versus kind of having the diversity of different types of abilities. So really happy with the Wise Wizard, the Secret Chronicles there. I thought it was really cool, and the art is just really fun. I'm gonna go back down. So like, I'm just a big fan of the art here, and then the theme I think is just a cool theme that I wasn't necessarily expecting to see in a head-to-head card battler, being, hey, let's optimize some scientist. So good stuff. My last game of Champions, I tested out my Firepower Domino deck. I was able to dish out 20 plus damage each turn. I got up to close to 41. Oh, geez, that's insane. That's so cool. I believe, yeah, so we played this on Thursday night. I went up on Wednesday. Honestly, I kind of thought that the con started on Thursday for some reason. It didn't. It starts on Friday. But I went up on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we were able to get our badges. We were able to, I did some process optimization on where to park my car. It was a fun, it felt like a board game in and of itself, trying to figure out how to get my car there and then get back to the hotel. But then we got to play Secret Chronicles at the end of the night, as well as Elemental, which was another Elemental. Probably should know that one. Which was another of the Wise Wizards games. It was okay. Secret Chronicles was a much better game, I thought. The other one was more light. It was a lighter game, and so I like the Secret Chronicles a little bit more. Next up, let's talk about Tower Bricks. So Tower Bricks is a game that I saw at Cosmo, and then I saw it at Gen Con, and I think they were actually selling it at Gen Con. I don't think this one is super new, but I saw it at Gen Con, and I was really intrigued because it's a cooperative deduction-esque game, which I am a huge fan of. We were talking about the gang earlier, playing the gang, which is cooperative, trying to figure out how to communicate with other players. The Crew, Fellowship of the Ring, trick taking, all of these are kind of in that same vein of how do we optimize the communication given the limited set of rules in which we are allowed to communicate. Tower Bricks is one of those, but it's a little bit more, it's like also kind of a dexterity style game, because what you are doing is you're building a tower, a collaborative tower. Everyone is working on building the same tower. We're just going to have some fun. Whoa. But anyways, so you're going to be building a tower in the center of the table, trying to fulfill specific rules that are dealt out to each player, and those rules are private. And so let's say we have this. This could be a rule. This says that you have to make sure that exactly the same number of horizontal and vertical bricks are used in the tower. So currently how we're set up, which this is not the best top-down game to try and showcase, but currently as we're set up, this would not satisfy my rule, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks face up, and then just 3 face down. So I would then reach over and maybe change, and this is an illegal placement, but whatever, change this so that that's 2, 4 to 4, but then maybe me changing the tower messed with somebody else's rule. Actually, hold on. Can we go to Okay, yeah, it's not great, but you can kind of see how you're kind of stacking this here. So that could mess with somebody else's rule. So they would come over here, and then the critical component to this is that you cannot communicate what your rule is. You can only communicate via manipulating the tower. And so if we had that, and then maybe someone else has at least one purple brick touches 4 or more bricks, you would look over here and it's like, okay, that would satisfy that condition. And then so once everyone's kind of figured out how to um, build the tower so that it satisfies all the conditions, you score points based on how many 2 points for every 2-point card, 3 points for every 3-point card that fulfills, and then you get bonus points. So if it's the tower is taller than the box, you get additional points. If the tower is taller than the box this way, you would get additional points. And then you get plus 2 points if only 2 or less blocks are touching the table. And so this would not score me the 2 points. It would not score me the plus 3 points for being taller than the box, but it would score me the 1 point for being taller than the box this way. And so it's just like, it's a really like interesting concept of a game to like add in like a tactical element to this like limited communication genre of games that's been popping up, because like our dexterity is I think more what I meant, a dexterity element to this. But I thought this was going to be a really fun one to bring for the holidays. It feels like it could work pretty much with almost any age. What do they have? They have 10 and up. My guess is that you could probably play with some of the easier rules. The green are easier, the red are a little bit harder, so you could probably play with some of like the easier 2 rules. So like every blue brick touches at least 1 horizontal brick could be a little bit easier to fulfill if you had like younger children at home. And so this is going to be one that I bring for the holidays to try and get in, because I think this is going to satisfy that type of game. And I think there are a lot of those games coming out right now, and I think it's a genre that is like really taking off, which I'm happy about, because I like the games. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that I've played, like Hanabi, The Crew 2, The Mind, those types of games, where they're like conversation facilitators is what I've said, or I've described them as before. I find myself, as I play more and more, that I really like those. Forgot to mention my proposal went. Oh, congratulations! I'm so excited. That's it. That's happy. I'm so happy for you. So proposal, everything went good. She said yes. Congrats. That's so exciting. That is Tower Bricks. This one is Cosmo. This one is out. Seeker is out as well. Good stuff. Cosmos did the gang. Cosmos did Tower Bricks. Cosmos did The Crew. So like, it feels like they are really understanding at least or like some of my favorite styles of games, because they are just like cranking them out with those like collaborative, limited communication games. I'm here for them. We had the convention center is connected to Reading Terminal, which is where a lot of the food is, or where I eat a lot. And I think a lot of people eat a lot of, especially lunch. It closes at around 6, which is when the convention hall does close. So I don't think dinner is really eaten there as much. But one of the more famous restaurants in there is Herschel's, which is a sandwich shop. It's like a pastrami sandwich shop. Absolutely fantastic. If you're ever in Philly, go try Herschel's, because it is something to try. But we would go there for breakfast because they have a pastrami egg and cheese sandwich, which was a fantastic start to the morning. Their pastrami is so tender and so juicy, and then like you have like this like beautiful stomach ache for a little bit, and it's just so worth it. But so we did that for food. We had. I'm trying to think of what all we ate. We had pho one night, which was good. We went and did a Philly cheesesteak, which was, I my diet went out the window this weekend. It was absolutely worth it, but it was good. Speaking of cooperative limited communication games, we have Take Time. Take Time apparently it was like the hot thing at Essen. Granted, this is from Asmodee, and the Asmodee people were the ones who said that it was the hot thing at Essen. So I believe them, but just kind of funny. That being said, I did start seeing a lot of hype about this game from other people as well. This is from Lillibud, which is the people who did like Harmonies and that. But Take Time is another cooperative limited communication game. Pull all of this out. It's also absolutely stunning. This one is more akin to the Crew or the Fellowship, where there are different like levels which modify the rules of the game that you can play through, and then it's all resettable. So there's like a ton of pockets, and then each one of these has 4 different scenarios in it with like these overarching rules that are going to apply to 4 of those scenarios. So we'll not spoil too much. We'll just look at the first scenario, just because that one is a little bit easier to, or I think that's the one that they use in the rule book anyways, so I'm not going to consider that a spoiler. But I won't show any of the other clocks, just in case you want to take a look at them yourself. But talk about this. Going through the pictures of food, we did the fried rice. Yeah, that was good. Then Philly cheesesteaks. Yep. Herschel's is a vibe. Herschel's is a vibe. So each one of these has 4 different clocks in it. And so when you open the little sleeve, like just a little sleeve holder there, you're going to have a rule sheet that's going to modify the rules for the 4 clocks that you are currently playing, as well as 4 different clocks. And I have to assume that they get more and more challenging as you go through. But you would start with 1. So this is from like pocket 1, and there's the first in here. So you'd flip this up, and this is the start, or this is the scenario that we are playing. There are a number of cards, and these cards are stunning. So you got like these white cards, white and gold, Kintsugi looking marble cards. I have to put these in sleeves. They're just too pretty. And then you have like the black version of the cards, like the black gold. And I'm not sure if it's showing up too well on stream, but they are like foiled. And so there's like this sheen in the gold to them. But I'm pretty sure it's 8 cards. Deal 12 cards to each player. So these cards are numbered 1 through 12 in both white and black. And so you would shuffle these up and deal 12 cards out. So in a 4-player game, everybody gets 3 cards. Just double checking. Yep, everyone gets 3 cards. And then you are going to try and play all of your cards, satisfying every single rule here. Take Time is near the top of the BGG top risers in the BGG. I can see it. I heard so many good things about this game. And so I can believe it. I can believe it. So each one of these nodes, you have 6 nodes per clock, is where you are going to be playing cards. And you're playing these cards face down. You start with any player who wants to. I feel so bad shuffling these cards. They're just so pretty. But say I had like, we're playing a 3-player game. I had these 4 cards. You're going to start to the right and you'll go clockwise from this start point here. Then you have specific requirements. So 3 cards have to be played to this node and a white card has to be played to this node. The other requirement here is that a card, at least 1 card, has to be played to all 6 nodes. If you have multiple cards in a node, the value of that node is additive. So this is 22. And the nodes have to increase in value as you go clockwise. So if I put a 22 here, that's going to require this to be more than 22. The other catch is that you cannot have more than 24 in a node. So if this was out, this would be 25. We would lose the game because we are over 24 here. So that is, I think I don't know if I said it, but you play the cards face down. There are ways that you can modify and spin these to play them face up to kind of help, but you have to, with no communication, play these cards face down such that you fulfill the increasing order, less than 24, and then any other requirements here. So like maybe this would require exactly 3 cards there, and then you would flip this up 12. So that would be 24. That would be perfect. Why does this give a Seasons vibe? I've not played Seasons, so I am not sure. Seasons like the card dice game. Yeah, that would be bad. She said yes. It helped that I slipped her 20. Nice. She asked me who's going to be my best man. Probably knows. There seems to be a big delay on my comments. That's weird. Oh, I think in my grogginess to set this up at the rest stop in the middle of Pennsylvania highway, I may have forgotten to change the latency on the stream for YouTube. So YouTube may be seeing a little bit behind what everyone else should be, what you would be seeing on Twitch. That's on me. I think I probably missed, or I didn't do that. That's on me. Sorry about that. But I think there are 30 scenarios, and so if I'm just gonna take a look at clock 2. If you want to avoid spoilers, come back in like 2 minutes. But once you beat this scenario, you play clock 2, where it sounds like the value of the segment must be between these 2 depicted numbers. So now, in order to win this segment here, the total value has to be between 8 and 12, or else you lose. So you can see how they can start to add different types of rules to the game, which can really like up the difficulty, and that does feel more challenging than this first one. And then the rules will modify each different packet. So like each packet comes with 4. So like the modify here is that these segment values are allowed to exceed 24. So it removes a core rule, probably just because it's the first game. And then any like segment rules that are going to show up on the clocks, it'll give you a value here. And then it says the first and second cards played by the group must be played next to these segments. Oh, that's a different placement segment. And then there are just other rules and stuff. So yeah, so to pass the test, at least 1 card has to be placed in each of the 6 segments. The value of each segment must be equal to or higher than the previous segment. In other words, the segments must increase in value or remain the same. Okay, so they can remain the same. As you proceed clockwise from the hand, the value of each segment must be less than 24. We ignore this for the first 3 clocks in the chapter, and we have to comply with all the individual segments there. What's up, Hills Have Nerds? Loving the PAX recap. I'm so happy to see you here. Hope everything is going well. So this is another one of those that I was really excited to get my hands on, especially for kind of the holiday season. This one feels like another one of those like conversation lubricant, conversation facilitators where you can use this to sit around and sure, you're playing a game, but also reconnect with some people and just have some fun. So and also just absolutely stunning art. The cards are, I'm going to put these in sleeves. I definitely need to put these in sleeves. And yeah, so these are all the different packets. So once you defeat packet 1, you'll go under packet 2. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Did I miss 11? Who knows? So it seems like 40-ish scenarios in the box. So yeah, I will. Oh, this is like the lot. So if you get stuck on a clock, you can put it in this folder. I remember them saying something about that. I will play this over the weekend. I'll report back on how it plays. I didn't actually get to play it over PAX, but I will report back and see how it plays. So yeah, that is Take Time, and it's just like, yeah, I definitely must. So usually whenever I set up a stream, I have to do a ton of stuff in the back end of YouTube. I can't just like set it as like a standard. I have to go in and do everything. And one of the things is it's in a different menu. I changed the latency in which the stream occurs. So there's like normal, low, and ultra low latency, and I typically run it on ultra low latency, which gives me about the same response time as Twitch gets. But I forgot to do that, and it is a setting you cannot change once you start the stream. So sorry about that. Am I going to GalaxyCon in Columbus next week? I am not. I don't even know what GalaxyCon is. What is that? Is it just me, or is the art for board games just in general gotten so much better over the past couple of years? I believe it has. I am on team that. I think we have entered into kind of this era where historically art did not play a big factor in the consumption of board games. You look back at like a lot of the old Euros where like El Grande or something like that. Now that is very old, and the technology for better art has come a long way since then. You look at like El Grande, or you look at any of like the Trading in the Mediterranean, Concordia, or anything like that. The art was not necessarily what they were going for in terms of design, like direction. That's not what they were like focused on. Design focus was the art. But I feel like over the last couple of years, and I think Matt hit the nail on the head, Kickstarter really did kickstart that trend where people saw what art could be in board games. And I think it's turned into more of a art of how do you implement mechanics and art all into this like piece of art. Like I feel like a lot of board games are art at this point. And so that you can enjoy playing a really cool game and it looking really good at the same time, because there have been board games that I have bought based purely off of what they look like. And you see things like Everdell, where it's just absolutely stunning. It has this gorgeous tree. It has this like eye candy that people gravitate towards. And I think that like Everdell's gameplay is fine, but the art, the experience, everything that goes into what makes Everdell is not just the mechanics of the game. I think if you stripped out and you made it look like Concordia, Everdell would not be as successful as it is. And so I think people start to see how art can impact the sale and the enjoyment of a game. And we've started to kind of like move into this era where people are just making it super pretty. And I'm here. Everdell is like that. Yeah. Yeah. Did you feel at PAX that board games are getting smaller and more accessible, while at the same time community seems increasingly quick to demand perfection from publishers? That's interesting. Everdell's great. I don't say any of that to try and knock Everdell. I was just like I think Everdell, when I think of beautiful games that like kind of pushed that um beautiful table presence, I think Everdell was one of the catalysts. And so that's why it's always just kind of like this like pops into my head and like, oh, that's so cool. Flamecraft, yeah, Flamecraft is a good one. I haven't played Flamecraft, but from what I understand of the gameplay, yes. It's not as deep as some of the art made it out to be, but the art looks fantastic. It looks so beautiful. And like, and again, I realize that this is all subjective to the player, right? So, but I want to go back to PAX. Board games are getting smaller and more accessible, while at the same time, the community seems increasingly quick to demand perfection from publishers. It's really interesting. I do know that Gen Z is becoming the major consumer for board games. I believe that they are up to about 30 something percent of the consumer base of board games. And Gen Z's normal desire in a board game are quick party game solutions where it's not necessarily I'm coming to play this board game. I'm coming to hang out with friends, and we're going to use the board game as this conversation catalyst where it's on the table and we're going to play that. And so I think the snappier, less involved Euros, not like the 3-hour war games, are becoming the, to use a term, the meta in the market. Because I think we're starting to see the market trend towards people wanting that style of game. Demanding perfection from publishers, I think, is something that we are seeing, mainly because the industry produces about 4,000 board games a year, and the ones that stick are the good ones. It's probably the same for movies, right? Like, there are very few people who could name like a lot of the bad movies that came out in 1995. Person I stay with, Alex, probably could, but I think like it has this like the answer creates the question kind of situation where it's like we remember the good ones, and so we find ourselves demanding more of that, right? They didn't make them like they used to type mindset. It's like they still had bad games or bad movies back then. It's just that we don't remember them because they've fallen by the wayside. And then the ones that are really good, the good ones that have stuck around, remain in the conversation. I do think that there is a higher pressure on board game publishers to get it right, and I think that is something that naturally occurs as the industry expands. As people see what board games are, more money gets put into the board game space. I think people just kind of assume that the board game industry and the publishers are going to get better at that, and I think that they are. You look at like, I was going to say Stonemaier, but I think Stonemaier is kind of an exception. They have always kind of published pretty good games. I don't know, if you look at a publisher, my guess is that the average quality of game that they put out 10 years ago is less than that of what they put out now, from a market requirement standpoint, a market demand standpoint from consumers, but also just like now they have 10 more years of experience and they understand what actually works. And I feel like we have a lot more data on how to produce a good game. I did see your question about GalaxyCon. My answer is no. What is GalaxyCon? It's a 6 to 10 minute delay for us on YouTube. Yeah, sorry about that. What's up, Jeff? How's it going? I can name all the bad movies. uh, so us on YouTube gain the temporal trait. Stonemeyer does awesome stuff. I don't think I'd like Wingspan, but then I played it. It's remarkably cool for a bird game. Wingspan, they have Wormspan, which is the dragon fin span. Yeah, they have produced a lot of games. I think my favorite Stonemeyer game is either Scythe or Viticulture. Knocking the holiday shopping before I work for the rest of the week. Sick. Nice. We got some more games, but I want to talk about Marvel Champ. I want to talk about In-Flight Report. What are your thoughts on the In-Flight Report? Because I loved it. I thought that the In-Flight Report was very entertaining. I thought that West did a fantastic job facilitating and emceeing the event. I thought all of the different guests to come on and talk about their areas of expertise were just fantastic. A lot of really interesting products coming forward. I think Arkham, with the new environment and the investigator decks and the new product line roadmaps, where they're getting 4 Arkham products per year, which I think is about where it was previously. Not like, I think, sorry about that. I think that's about where it was post them moving to like the 2-box format for the wave. It was about 4 a year. But Arkham looked interesting. I don't know Arkham nearly as well as I know Champions or Lord of the Rings, but I am pretty excited about all of the Arkham stuff coming out, the new Core 2.0, the fact that they do have all of the releases for 2026 laid out. I am a huge fan of. I am interested in the 3-game campaign, the Children of Blood, which is coming out in the summer. I think a 3-game campaign is really enticing. We got that with Night of the Zealot. I assume we are getting that in the new core set as well, a new 3-game campaign. But having more of those, I think, is very interesting, because it's a lot easier to kind of undertake and ask. It's an easier ask for people to play, and I think the 3-game campaign style outside of a core box. And in the core box, you want those mechanics to be introductory, not super weird. So opening that up to a expansion in the 3-game format, I think, is a really cool way to explore some unique mechanics. So I'm excited to see what they're going to be doing with Children of Blood next summer, so that they can like take a big swing with the 3-game campaign format. We saw that with like Mojo and Champions, and like all the scenario packs, and how they're able to do just like some really, really interesting things throughout. Real was awesome. I hear people aren't very happy about the new environment not being discussed. That's fair. I think with like the beta environment, which I initially thought was like a pre-test or player test type environment, sounds like the way that they set it on the stream or during the in-flight report was not necessarily that. It was more akin to what we're seeing in Arkham, where it's like a old and legacy. But I think we should be getting more information about that soon-ish, is kind of the vibe that I was understanding. And so I'm hoping to have more information about exactly what that beta environment is within the next month or so, in which case we'll be talking a lot more about it then, because I am interested in hearing what that is and what that looks like going forward. For Champions, yeah. That being said, I am so pumped for the Defenders. I think the Defenders coming to Champions is going to just be so much fun. So cool. Um, I like the reveal is not much information that was said to be talked about in disappointing no game Genic chest for champions. Yeah, me too. I want a game Genic chest for champions. They showed this one for Arkham, which is kind of like a campaign saver, is kind of how I have vision in my head. But like you can put 4 investigator decks in there, your cards, and then like open, and it has like a area for like a game tray as well as all your rule books, and it looks absolutely amazing. They had a physical version of it there, and they were showcasing that, and it was just, yeah, I shut up and take my money type situation. uh, GalaxyCon is a big nerd convention in Columbus next weekend. We're coming down as guest of the guard tower in Columbus, and we'll be doing a live episode from the con floor. That's awesome. Have so much fun. That's super exciting. Definitely buying the entire Defenders wave. Yes. Oh, I am. The Defenders is something that I've been wanting in Champions ever since I watched Jessica Jones on Netflix. That series, I think it was a 3-season series. I loved Jessica Jones. I really like mystery books and shows and stuff, and they're like detective shows, and so having that combined with Marvel was just like very, very fun to watch. And so I think from like the ranking of heroes, and just to kind of recap, in the box we're getting Daredevil and Echo in the Fear No Evil expansion, which is next summer, I believe. Then we're getting a Jessica Jones Luke Cage, followed by a Shadowlands scenario pack, which is featuring the Hand. And then during winter next year, we are ending with an Elektra and an Iron Fist release. So I think I am most excited for, thematically, Jessica Jones. I love Jessica Jones' character, and so I'm very interested to see her implemented into Champions and how that works. We have like the Justice Ally, which gets more thwart per side scheme, and so since she is kind of the street level detective, I could see her interacting with player side schemes or just side schemes in general, maybe like a one way or another-esque ability, go find a side scheme. And so she could be like the Valkyrie for side schemes, or the Thor for side schemes, where you're pulling out these minions to get something for Valkyrie Thor, whereas Jessica, she can pull out like side schemes and get benefits whenever she takes them out or something like that. Just kind of thinking about how her ally is set up. So there is that. I appreciate your enthusiasm on your channel about what's to come. The world is already rough, so no need to make a Javier difficult. Thank you. That makes me happy. Yeah, no, I like being happy. That's my philosophy. That's my outlook on life. Yeah, berries and cream. How do I feel about no core box 2.0 for Champions? I think I'm okay with it. I think I'm withholding pretty much all of my judgment until we understand what the beta environment is. I think I'm not necessarily ready to jump to any sort of conclusion until we know what that beta environment is. So I think I am surprised more that we didn't get any information about repackaged or redone heroes. I think that's more what I was expecting, especially because a couple months ago we said that that information was coming soon. So we may get that information soon, but the way that it was being talked about, we're not going to be getting a reprint of an old hero until at least 2027, which feels like a long way off to not have Captain America. That being said, these could be the new products, and we could be getting reprints or something other in like a different way, but who knows? But going back to my ranking, I think thematically, as well as just overall, I'm most excited for Jessica Jones. I love the show. I love her as a character. Mechanically, I'm most excited for Luke Cage. I have been very happy with how they have implemented similar power sets into the game that Luke Cage has. So I'm thinking like Colossus. I love Colossus. I think it is so... Colossus is a beautiful design, and I think Luke Cage and Colossus have similar-esque power sets, and so I am really looking forward to seeing how they do Luke Cage kind of as that protector type character. We see with Hercules more of a tank style play, and so if that is something that they are looking to introduce into the game, like maybe that type of architect, you could see Luke Cage bring a lot of tank abilities to the game, and also like hype up Hercules even more. So I think I would go Jessica, then Luke Cage, then Daredevil. I know putting him, he made the podium, so at least he's on the podium. But for some reason, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage have always been kind of at the top of the list for me as characters that I'd be interested to see. But Daredevil does make that podium in 3. I would go Iron Fist, Elektra, and then Echo in that order. Mainly, I have no idea who Echo is. I don't know anything about Echo. So if someone wants to tell me about Echo, I would love to hear about it. Game Layer 600 convertible, which I use for traveling. All the core villains, nice. Yeah, I use a lot of Gamegenic stuff. I think that their card storage solution is very premium. Nelson, excited to see a protection type hero. Shocked, I tell you, but it's not on the top of my list. So we have a Justice character at the top of my list this time. Luke Cage has unbreakable skin. Yeah, and so like I feel like that feels like tough. Like it's gonna be another hero that interacts with the tough status card to me. Or maybe it could be something like reduce amount of damage. But I feel like interacting with Tough and utilizing Tough as a resource, similar to what they did with Colossus, would be something that I would like to see with Luke Cage. Aggression, Jessica Jones. Leadership, Luke Cage. Protection, Iron Fist. Justice, Daredevil. I was talking about this with some other people when we were there. I think Jessica will be Justice. Luke Cage, I think, will be Protection. Daredevil will be Justice. And that's where I get who's the leadership? Who's leadership in this wave? Nelson uses so much Gamegenic, they recognized him when we went to his booth. Yeah, I buy a lot of Gamegenic. Echo is probably Aggression. Okay, I could see that. Which allies with Jessica Jones? My hot take is I don't think Jessica Jones is gonna have an ally. She feels like a lone wolf. I could see her with Luke Cage, but I think Jessica Jones will be a hero without a signature ally. Echo is deaf, has my medic. Hey, Paula Dimming, rated with. Hey, how's everyone doing? Welcome. Thank you for joining. Raid, what's up? Is there an official image for the timeline? There is. I don't know if they've published that anywhere, but if you go to the official Fantasy Flight stream, they do have the images there, and then I also cropped those images into the recap video that I did. I think Iron Fist would be cool if his aspects were like fighting styles, like Hulkling form. Maybe that could be cool. I don't know too much about Iron Fist as either. Found a screenshot from Reddit. Okay, good. Yeah, that makes sense. Reddit feels like they would definitely be showing a screenshot of there, or they would crop that out. But yeah, who do we think is holding on to that leadership spot? Iron Fist potentially, Daredevil. None of them really feel like leaders to me. The other thing that we have talked about on the channel is that leadership has this. Luke Cage is mayor of New York. Well, that feels very leadership-esque to me. Okay, there you go. Hey, oh my gosh, my eyes. I need to get my eyes flexed, Master. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing fantastic. Jessica Jones has to be leadership. Elektra, she's the leader of the hand. Okay, so we have talked before about how leadership is leaning into this archetype, or how it could be leaning into an archetype where we have like Mjolnir, or I'm sorry, not Mjolnir, but Captain America's shield being able to attach to um, Winter Soldier or Falcon, giving them the Captain America trait. And we have discussed on the channel how it could be cool if we start to see leadership do more of that for different characters. Like if there's a Mjolnir, which Captain America could pick and give him like the God of Thunder trait or something like that. And I could see Elektra being getting like a similar trait there. Daredevil equals aggressive. Luke Cage, protection. I feel like Jessica Jones has to be Justice. New Avengers, Luke Cage, Thing, Miss Marvel, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Sentry, Echo, Ronin, protection. We also have the protection Iron Fist ally, which makes me think that he's going to be a protection character as well. I did see a couple of comments talking about how it felt like this was less content. I think this is about the same, if not more content than what we've been getting in the past. So I wrote it out here. We are getting 8 new heroes. 2 of them are coming in a box. 8 new heroes. We're getting one of the box, which comes with 2 of those heroes, as well as 5 villains. It was a misspeak in the in-flight report saying 3, but it's actually going to be 5. That was clarified by FFG. So 5 villains. We're getting a scenario pack with presumably minimum 2. My guess would be like 1 or 2 villains, but typically we see a minimum of 2 in those boxes. We're not getting any redos, but like 8 heroes and a scenario pack. That's 9 products in 2026, which could, maybe we were getting 12 at one point, but I feel like this last year we didn't get close to 9. I hope Iron Fist isn't like War Machine where he has counters. I like the counters. I think the War Machine counters could have been modified slightly differently, but like the Ironheart counters, I like having those as different resources, but I don't necessarily know. I think my favorite counter is Drax, or Ironheart if Ironheart's counters were slightly harder to get. I think would be my my favorite way to do that. Yeah, so a lot of interesting stuff coming out for Champions. We are getting a new rules reference in December, which will be interesting. I'll be interested to see what is going to be changing, because sometimes when those get put out, the entire game changes. And sometimes it's just kind of some clarifications, but I do think that is where they said we were going to be getting the beta environment information is going to be in that rules reference, which is popping in December. One thing with the last couple of boxes, we did get a few new cards, and they've been doing a lot of reprints. Yeah. What do you think the rules reference will update? I think the main thing will be the beta environment. I don't know if that was in the talk or if that was just as I was talking with some folks afterwards, but the beta environment I think is going to be outlined in that 1. Are we up to 1.7 now? I think it's going to be outlined in that 1.7 or 1.8, whichever one we are at. But I think that's going to be the main thing in that update. But I could also see them clarifying some, like we've seen them clarify we have seen them clarify search versus look and all of those things. So I'm assuming that we're going to get some stuff like that. But yeah. Is there a rule that you wish that they would change? No. Not off the top of my head. I wish they would redo the unique rule. That's fair. I could see an update to the unique rule, especially as the game expands so much. What are your all thoughts on FFG picking up Zombicide and Cthulhu Death May Die? I've not played either of the games. I have seen a lot of Zombicide played. I don't know too much about Cthulhu Death May Die. Um, but as I explained, I think I actually said it in the video in the recap. But I was like, if I didn't know who published them and you made me guess, FFG would be in the top couple of companies that I would assume would be printing Zombicide and Cthulhu. And so I think that will be interesting to have them under FFG, because they did say that they're keeping the creative team intact, which I hugely appreciate, especially for the communities of those games. Not necessarily having a break or a difference in how those are going to be designed going forward, but also then getting the reach and just the resources behind FFG and Asmodee there. I like essential aspect and basic reprints from prior heroes. Would be cool if they use new. Oh, that would be cool. Yeah. I think the Vault series is really interesting. Crowdfunding older products is a really good way to put out their older products that people no longer have access to. Just makes a lot of sense. Just makes a lot of sense from like a business standpoint. They don't have to keep all of these old products. Like I played the heck out of Elder Core. I don't think you may be able to still buy that, but if not, like if I wanted to show it to somebody, I traded mine, but if I wanted to show it to somebody or if someone wanted Elder Core, they could go get Elder Core when they do a reprint through the Vault series. Really interesting. Zombicide is sick. Super fun and great for a D&D group. Nice. Because like Champions, it is hard to find. Yeah, my guess is that they're not going to just announce and then not do anything. My guess is that we will see reprints and a little bit more accessible purchase through there. Come On used to own Zombicide and Cthulhu. Come On had to sell off a lot of IPs just to stay afloat. Yep, they are not doing. They're struggling. They are struggling. I want FFG to put more of their IPs into Zombicide. Oh. That'd be cool. Marvel Zombies, right? I mean, like, Marvel Zombies is a thing, so you could have a Marvel Zombicide. That has to be on the horizon, right? Like that, I would be flabbergasted if they did not have a Marvel Zombicide in the works. Actually, I would not be shocked if that's already a thing. but it does feel like they that would be good. Oh, Simon still owns Marvel Zombies. Oh, it's already a thing. You own it. Beautiful. Great idea. Man, we come up with the best ideas. Marvel Zombies does exist. That makes sense. Nice. Okay. The new expansion for Star Wars Deck Builder is coming out. The Mandalorian expansion, which was a newer release here at PAX, was one of those games that was sold out every single day, where they allocated a certain number of copies to sell each day, and every single day I walked by, it was sold out. So good for Caleb. He's the designer of the Star Wars deck building game. So did Champions. Now he's working on the Star Wars deck builder. So very happy for Caleb there. Mandalorian introduced like a 3-player mode, which is pretty cool. And then they did announce that they're getting a new expansion for that in 26. So I'm very happy to hear that. Deceased is on the way too. DC Zombicide. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Swoo looks awesome. I am so excited for the pre-con Twin Suns decks. Give me more of that. I really enjoy Twin Suns. It's probably my favorite way to play. Potentially tied, depending on what I've eaten that day or how I feel, with just like a limited draft. I really enjoy draft or sealed as well, but Twin Suns is just very political. It's multiplayer. It's casual. It's fun. So to have 4 Twin Suns decks coming out with unique new heroes, which I assume will lean more into the Twin Suns format than like a Premier format, makes me happy. So as a recap, we're getting a Dooku, a Savage, Oppress, and Maul, Anakin, Padme, and then an Ahsoka Rex pre-con. And I'm so excited for Ahsoka Rex. Anakin and Padme as well, but Ahsoka Rex is like my favorite like friendship and or like partnership in the entire Star Wars series, and so I'm really happy to see them um play together. It's cool that that is coming in addition to the normal 3 set releases every year. The new set looks cool. It's called A Lawless Time, designed head designer from John Leo, and introducing those split aspects. Honestly, I guess it makes sense with how many cards are designed for SWU compared to Champions, but I am surprised that we're getting split aspects in Star Wars before we are getting them in Champions. I would have guessed that we would see split aspects like an aggression justice type card in Champions. Similar, we have seen them in Arkham before that in SWU, but we're getting them in SWU, and it looks pretty fun. I'm especially excited for like, what was it? It was Zeb was a red, blue, white, and that feels like a really cool combination and aspect combination for like Twin Suns. And so we're starting to see more love for that mode of play as well. All right, Marvel Champions Meetup group did make a house rule for Doctor Strange that whenever he struffles into invocation, he gets an encounter guard, and all of his invocations that cost any resource require a genius resource. Oh, okay. That seems good. Do you think they will ever get more pool aspect cards? No. If I'm being honest, no. I think it was a one and done type thing. I could see them doing another aspect similar to pool, but I don't really see them expanding pool. I could be wrong, but my guess is that we would see something else, either like a one-off joke aspect, wild, weird aspect that was pool, or something a little bit more different, like a determination type situation. It is cool that we are getting Leia and Jabba as our spotlight heroes for this next set. The credit tokens I'm also really excited for. Credit tokens seem really interesting. It's like a temporary one resource, which makes it so that you can play your higher cost cards without jeopardizing the deploy for your leader balance and everything. And so those 9 cost cards, which you never get to see you play, probably will with the generation of credit tokens. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. Give us the purple aspect. Yeah. Cosmic aspect. That would be cool. Game Genic has a lot of cool stuff coming out for both Arkham as well as SWU. The art in this game, and like just like the accompanying, just everything is really, really slick. We're getting Synthesoid Smackdown. I did see a couple of people already unboxing it, so I do know people do have it in their hands. I am not one of those people. I actually don't even know if my store has it. I just have not been back yet. And then early into the year next year, we are getting Hercules and Wonder Man. Then we do have a decent break until we release Fear No Evil in the summer. And I'm guessing that's because we are having such a heavy release timeline for Arkham during the spring. So yeah. I'm just reading through my notes. Oh, I went to the wrong talk. So I was actually walking over to the in-flight report with John Leo, because like I was trying to find the Grand Ballroom B or wherever it was held, and I started like walking, and I just like, it looked like a child who had lost his parents, just like wandering the halls, and like John walked out, and like, so we made eye contact, and like we were talking a little bit, and I was like, yeah, I'm trying to find this. He's like, I'm heading over there now, like let's walk together. So we walked all the way over. Because he was a panelist, he went up, and then like there's the line, and so like I got in the line, and so like I'm hanging out in the line. It's the in-flight report is at won the line. I got in the line at around 11:15. There's a lot of people in line. I'm like, hype, this is sick. And so they take us up into the ballroom. I sit down, and then like it's around 12:30, so 30 minutes before in-flight starts, and people come out onto the stage and they're talking about running like a convention game. I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. It's like a thing before the in-flight report. We're just gonna have some fun. And then it started getting more and more involved, and so I lean over to the lady sitting next to me. I was like, what is this event? And it was not the in-flight report. That was in the ballroom next door. I just got in the wrong line. And so I started taking notes. Like I was writing down a lot of my thoughts on outlining how I was going to be taking notes through the in-flight report. And like everyone else was there to play like a game. And so like I like to think that these people thought I was in like just crazy. Like because I'm over here like taking notes and like, why is he taking notes on this like game? That's so weird. And so nope, I left, and then I got in the correct line. And it was the ballroom next door. But I got a kick out of that. Oh, okay. Let's go down and look at Forest Shuffle Dartsmore. This is another game that we picked up. Forest Shuffle is a game that came out, I don't think it was last PAX, maybe 2 PAXs ago, that I tried. I didn't love it, but I think reading the rules, I think that was more a function of the environment in which I was playing Forest Shuffle rather than Forest Shuffle itself, because this game has everything that I think makes me happy. And so I'm going to set this up a little bit. But basically it's a engine building card type game where you have a deck of cards, and on your turn you can draw 2 cards or you can play a card. And the cards are animals, they are plants, they are trees, they are moors, they are things. And basically you're building up a tableau. So here's a tree card in the top left corner here. This is how many cards it costs to play the card. So in order to play the tree, I would discard 1 card from my hand to the row here to play the tree. And now I have a tree. In future turns, I can play cards to that tree. And all of the animal cards are double-sided. So they're either top, bottom, or side to side. To give you an example of some of these cards. And so if I wanted to play this Dartmoor sheep, I would pay the resources, and then I would stack it here on this tree. Now I have the sheep, and it gives you media bonuses as well as different ways to score. And then if I wanted to put a bird up here, and so each one of these locations can hold up to 4 different animals. Then if you have I think they're called locks, they have 2 slots on the top and then 2 slots on the bottom, whereas the tree is kind of on each side. And then, so this is how you would like lay out one of these trees. And so these all score differently. It's very much a point salad type system where it's like, okay, so this scores 5 points if you have at least 3 different bats. And so now like you're trying to draft bats. And whenever you draw cards, you can draw them from the row here or from the top of the deck. And it's a set collection type game. So here's another bat. And this one also says 5 points if you have at least 3 different bats. And so like you start to see this theme for a bat card. Just kind of see. Yep. So this is another bat. It's the same thing. So if you have all 3 of these out on different trees or whatever, each one of these would score 5 victory points, because each one of them, now that I have 3 different bats, each one of them would score 5. And so it feels like a game that I would love. And I don't know why I didn't click with it the first time I played. And I'm excited to try it again, because I think I played about half the game not necessarily understanding what the heck I was doing, which had an issue with it. I also think it was like 2 a.m., which probably did not help. And so I'm excited to try this. I'm not 100% sure what the Dartmoor expansion changes, but they do call out in the rulebook, like there's like these new tags. So if you are familiar with Forest Shuffle, you don't have to read the entire rulebook. They did call out explicitly what the difference are in the two games. So, oh yeah, this will be a fun one. They're like winter cards, shuffle 5 caves. So there's a couple of new interactions, but seems like a card game, which not sure what the time, about an hour. That's fine. One thing I will say is I am not a fan of this box. Actually, this may actually help. Hold on. Let me see if I can fix this. I just realized that there's like a divider in this box. So maybe the cards aren't going to go everywhere. But it feels like a silly large box for a deck of cards. There we go. Yeah, that actually works out a lot better. But still, it's a large box for a small deck of cards. So I'm hoping to get this one played over the weekend as well. So if I do, I will report back to see if it is a game that I enjoy or if I was correct in my assumption that nope, not the game for me. But I'm guessing that I'm gonna enjoy this. It just feels like a game that I should enjoy. I did a Star Wars Unlimited draft, or not a draft. I did a sealed event, where you get 6 packs and you create a 30 card deck based on the cards that you draft. I ran a Jabba the Hutt green deck. It was really good. There were a few cards I would have changed if I could choose cards out of a pool. But Jabba is a leader where you can spend a resource. A damaged unit deals a damage to another unit. If your unit has 3 or more damage on it, it deals 2 damage to that unit. And then on its deploy, it's a 2/8 unit, and it has an ability, a once per round ability, that anytime a friendly unit is dealt damage and survives, you basically get to mirror that damage to another unit. And so when you have, and I just put a lot of high health units in there, and so like I would take 5 damage, survive the attack, and then throw 5 damage at like a ship, and it just seemed really good. I pulled 3 legendaries in my 6 packs, and I only ran 1 of them. But I ran, actually, do I have my legendaries here? Yeah. So I got Director Krennic. I actually got a hyperspace version of him. So yep. This was in my pack, hyperspace Krennic. Never got to play him. He did end up in my deck, but we never made it to resource 9. We got the Vutan Pla, which has a really cool ability. It costs 9, but it costs 1 less for each friendly droid unit, and then you can exhaust droid units to use them, which seems like a really fun card to run in like a droid token deck. And then I got a chopper. Chopper's fun. So, just throw cards everywhere. But that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the limited play. And I don't know if I would have too much time to do a limited play at other cons. Potentially like an Origins, but at Gen Con, I wouldn't have time. So like that's one of the reasons why I like PAX so much, is that I do have that time to sit down and play Star Wars and have a good time with that. I got a book. I got the Psychology of Pokemon. So I saw this. I've been reading a lot more over the last couple of weeks. I deleted all the social media off my phone, and so I've filled that time with reading. But this is a collection of different essays that relate Pokemon to psychology. I've read 2 of them now. First one was much better than the second one. But like the first one was talking about how Pokemon and the parallels between humanity's need to collect, transcend, and transform. And so, uh, really interesting stuff. I've been just devouring books on psychology. And so having like Pokemon in addition to psychology, I was like, well, that's an instant buy. And so I'm reading through these. And since it is just a collection of essays, it's very episodic in the sense that I can just kind of read something and set it aside and read something else. But like, um, it was edited by Anthony Bean, who had a lot of these types of books. Like there's a Legend of Zelda one. There was that's the only one that I like remember off the top of my head. But they had a couple of different IPs, psychology related to X, and so Pokemon. This was what I was reading in the line and waiting for the in-flight report when I was in the wrong room, and so I was having a real good time with that. It's also just fun to buy a book at PAX because I think I've only ever bought board games. That's not true. I bought the Earthborn Rangers art book 2 years ago. I got to meet MJ, which was really fun. So MJ has now moved over to the Earthborn Rangers design team, which fantastic location for her. Really happy that she's there. So yeah, I got to meet her. That was a lot of fun. I love Black Widow, Spider, a lot of her designs, as well as Arkham. They're just prolific designer, and so really fun to meet her. And then yeah, so that was fun. And then last 2 games that I got were our 2 small box all play games. So let's go down to the table. First one I bought is Soda Jerk. This is one that I played at Origins this year for the first time. I don't believe it was out at Origins. I think this one was a Gen Con release. And so, there we go. Perfect. It is a very quick 2 to 4 player, 15-minute bluffing type game where you are running a soda shop, but you are also a jerk. Also, these all play tiny boxes are fantastic. They can fit in a lot of min-sized pockets, and they're just like really fun to bring to a restaurant to play. Oh, it's a little score pad. That's really cute. You would think after opening thousands of these little packs of cards over the course of my life, I get better at it, but I do not. Wait, hold on. Did I find the pull tab? Almost. Alrighty. So in this game, you have like kiwis, blueberries, bananas, orange, strawberries, and how to play. But basically, each one of these has a different ability. This is on the B side it does, but on the A side it does not. But on your turn, you can choose to place a card face down at a tap or flip a face down card over. First turn, everyone has to place. When a player has placed... Okay. Yeah, so you have these cards, which are all ingredients. So you have all the ingredients that go here. So when you are trying to score, or you're playing cards into these different recipe, and you're playing them face down. If it matches, it adds to the value. So like if blueberry was over here, it would be 1 point for blueberries. If it was over here, it would subtract from the value. And then you score. I bought this sight unseen. So bear with me as I remind myself exactly how you score. When the round ends, reveal all face down cards. Determine the final value. Each player then reveals and scores their hand. That's right. Yep. So it's so if you had something like Oh, that's blueberry. If you had something like this, and this was my hand, bananas are worth 3 points, and I have 2, so I would score 6 points based off these two. And then the strawberry, say, would be worth -3 points, so I get -3 points for this strawberry in my hand. And so you want to play your cards out to the different ingredient piles in order to benefit those. So if I really want banana to score, I want to play my high value banana cards to the banana pile, but I can't play them all because if I don't have any bananas in my hand, I will not score bananas and somebody else could. And so it's like this whole like push, pull, bluff type situation where it's like, okay, I'm going to play to banana. Does that mean that I want to tank banana, or does that mean that I am trying to score banana? And on your turn, you can either play a card or you can flip a card face up, which can kind of give you an idea of what is or is not going to score. And if all of a sudden you flip up like a 2 strawberry, I may be trying to shed my banana cards then because I don't want to score negative points. It's like a 15-minute quick game. And then we did not play with the abilities here, but the Kiwi, so each Kiwi card scores double their final value here. Discard the last card placed. After each player's turn, all cards here must be placed face up, so that's kind of fun. The final value here is 5 or more. Each orange card scores -1 instead. Oh. And then before scoring, discard the highest face-up card here. So that could be a negative face-up card, so that's cool. So yeah, really quick, really simple type game. I like it because it fits in my pocket and I play it at restaurants. It's like I'm always looking for more games in that vein, like an Oink style or a Button Shy style game to play. Other thing about All Play before we talk about Jibber Jabble, I played a demo of Mountain Goat's Legacy, and that game surprised me. I was really impressed with Mountain Goat's Legacy. So if you're unfamiliar with Mountain Goats, it's a pretty simple game where you have mountains that range in value from 5 to 10. You start at the bottom of those mountains. On your turn, you will roll 4 dice, and you can allocate those dice to move up different mountains. So if you roll a 6, a 4, a 5, and a 5, you can combine the 6 and 4 to move one spot up the 10 mountain. Some value of that is 10. And then like you can use the 2 5s to move twice up the 5 value mountain. Once you reach the top, you score points based on that mountain size. So reach the top of 10, score 10 points. Cool. Really simple, really fun, quick, throw dice, have fun type game. Creating a legacy game out of that, I was skeptical. I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty skeptical. I was like, how much can you do? Turns out a lot. And the biggest change right out the bat, we played through 4 scenarios, and to kind of give a highlight of what that is without giving too many spoilers, the first thing that you change right off the bat is the ones can have powers. So in normal Mountain Goats, if you roll multiple ones, you get to re-roll the ones because nobody likes ones. Ones are sad. In this one, the ones are replaced with like a Mountain Goat symbol, and the Mountain Goat symbol in game 1 can be used as a 1, a value 2, or a value 3. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility in how you are changing that. In future games, you can always use that Mountain Goat as 1, but then you start getting powers. So one of the first powers we got is that you can use a Mountain Goat to move 1 step up from the base of any mountain. So if I'm at the base of mountain 10, I can use a Mountain Goat to move up the step of mountain 10. Now I can only do that for the first step. I can't do that for subsequent steps. A couple of the other dice powers that would come in, and the winner of the previous game got to kind of choose what powers would get replaced with any new powers. And so winning the game got you the satisfaction of actually winning the game, but also winning the game kind of gave you the agency over what the next game would look like, and then the branching paths and everything there. I did get to play with Eric Summerer, who is Brant from Step Into the Portals, co-host on their Right Brain Rollers podcast. So if you have not checked out the Right Brain Rollers podcast, check that out, because it's Brant, who we all know and love, talking about board games, and then Eric Summerer, who has the most beautiful voice fit for audiobooks, which he has recorded as well, but he was our narrator for the story, and so it was just like really immersive to hear him kind of like walk through and tell the story. Fantastic. One of the other things that they added is basically powers for the mountains, and so the first power starts on power 9, and I think the first one that we got was, if you have the most scorecards from this mountain, score 8 additional victory wins. So if you have the most 9 scorecards, you would score 8 additional. When a new power comes out, that rotates down the mountain twice. And so now it's over mountain 7. So now it's, if you have the most 7 cards, score twice. Or over mountain 5, if you have the most 5, score twice. Then there were some that were like, each one of these scorecards scores plus 2 points. But if there are no scorecards left at the end of the game, they're all worth 0 points. And so there's a little bit of push-pull. My opponent over here is taking a lot of those 9s, which are all worth 11 now. But if I go up to the top of the mountain, if I grab one of them, I can deplete his entire score. So there's some fun interactions there. There's just a lot of layers that they added onto the Mountain Code system. And it does add those like new rules incrementally. And so if you have somebody, again, or if you have somebody that is younger that enjoys mountain goats, I feel like this is something that you could easily pick up and play with them fairly easily, without worrying about rules overload, because they add them in so slow. And because it incrementally gets more and more, you could get to a point where it's like, this is where like my family group feels comfortable playing, and then play to that scenario. And then as the kids get older, you can add in more. But yeah, I went in skeptical and I came out impressed. It was fun. There were a couple other rules that I'm not going to spoil too much, but there were some crazy things that happened in the Mountain Goat system. And in the 2-hour session, we played 4 scenarios. So really quick, really snappy. It is not a legacy game in the sense that you're like tearing up cards, but it is a legacy. I describe it more as a campaign game where the future or past actions dictate future opportunities, but not in a permanent way. You can reset everything and play it again, and it would be the same thing, but you're not marking on cards or tearing them up or anything like you would see in like a Pandemic Legacy. Yeah, Mountain Goat Legacy. I was in it. I was having fun. So that is coming to Kickstarter. I don't know if it's Kickstarter. It's coming to crowdfunding in January. So I'll probably be on the lookout to grab that, just because, yeah, it's fun. And then the other one that All Play is putting out, and I don't know when this one is coming out, but this is Jibber Jabble. I did get a copy. It's a pre-production copy of this, because I wanted to get into a trial, but I was not able to, and so they sent me home with a copy. Let's hop down. Jibber Jabble is another cooperative word game, and so if you've played or if you are familiar with Just One, it reminds me a lot of that. What was the game before Jibber Jabble? I was just talking about Mountain Goat's Legacy, the game that I wasn't showing that. I was talking about Mountain Goat Legacy. And then the game before that I actually had on the table was called Soda Jerk. So one of those two. So on your turn, you are going to draw a card, and you do not look at the card, but it's going to have a number of words on it. So this one has Lemon, The Office, Grass Summer, Lost, and Trial. They are in categories in terms of difficulty. So the top are how many points you would score. They are easier to harder. So Lemon, say I would say, I'm going to choose 1. I don't get to look at this. So everybody else knows that they are trying to get me to guess the word lemon. And the way that you get clues is starting with the person to my left. They're going to start to spell a clue. So the example that I was using earlier, say my word was ocean. They would start and they would say W. The next person would continue that clue in terms of spelling. They could say A. Then the next person could say V. And the person next to them thought we were spelling water. So they were expecting a T. But now they had W-A-V and they're like, well, okay, well, what the heck is W-A-V? Oh, waved. E. And then they end. So that's my first clue is wave. And then I would get 2 more clues and I would have to guess ocean. But it's a fun game, I think, for both sides of the table, because one, you're getting the satisfaction of guessing, which is always, I think, my favorite part in these types of games. But then you gamify how you're giving clues as well. So you get this like whole like creative, like, okay, like I could go water, I could go wave. And so I'm excited to try this one out. This one is coming out next year as well. I don't recall exactly when it is, but I'll get that information back to you all. But yeah, so yeah, you have like Spider-Man. So spell out Peter, Miles, or you could spell out like web. But then you have to kind of understand what your group is looking at as well. Because like if I'm playing with my parents, I'm not going to spell Miles. They don't know who Miles Morales is. But if I'm playing with like my game group, I would spell out like Miles. And so you have to kind of read the group and try and figure that out. But Jibber Jabber is one that I'll be playing over the weekend, and I'll report back to see how that plays. This plays up to, it says 3 to 10 plus, which makes sense. It's you can play with as many players as you want. But yeah, that is everything that I brought home from the con. I'm really interested in trying Take Time. Jibber Jabber looks like a lot of fun. Honestly, a lot of the games that I picked up, I am interested in. There wasn't anything that I was like gunning for that I had to get. I know the Two Towers expansion for our standalone game, I think actually. The Two Towers trick-taking game was an Essen release, and it's going to be released in the United States in January, but they did have some copies at PAX. I almost said here at PAX. I am very aware that I'm 10 hours away from PAX. They were selling a limited quantities each day, and that was one of them that people were rushing for and trying to get. I was like, I'm not going to finish my Fellowship by January when it hits retail, so I'm just going to buy it from the store. Mandalorian was selling out quick, which is the Star Wars deck building expansion, the 3-player game. I know Caleb brought a couple of copies to MCDC, and so I know people were playing it there. But yeah, it was just a really good time. It's very relaxed. I love PAX. If you're ever able to make it out to the Philadelphia area, it's probably one of the more expensive cons to visit, just from like a regional standpoint. But it's probably my favorite. I like the vibe. I like just everything about PAX. The food is fantastic. We stayed like a block away, which was, I feel spoiled at this point. One year I stayed like a 40-minute walk away. Would not recommend, but I don't know why this hotel was so cheap. It was a Hilton, or no, Marriott, but like it was way cheaper than any of the hotels. I don't know if I just got in there at the right time or something, but so that was really nice to have easy access to the room. That's something that I have not done before this year, but at Origins, Gen Con, and now at PAX, I stayed very close, and it's something that if you are able to afford it is absolutely worth doing, I think. What's up, Nelson? Great to see you and chill with you during the in-flight. Yeah, so much fun. Yeah, as soon as I left the game show room and went into the in-flight room, I was like, okay, I know these people. Like, I started like looking around. I saw self-destruct, and like I saw a lot of other people that I was like, okay, now I know I'm in the right spot. But yeah, no, it was great seeing you. Hope the rest of your con was fantastic. People were running Civil War. Or people, Fantasy Flight was running Civil War events, and so walking by and seeing people play 2v2, which was fun. But yeah, really good stuff. Always a good time to hang out and see new games, play new games. But yeah, if there is any questions or anything, drop them down below in the comments. I would love to help answer any of that. But yeah, I'm going to be back next week doing some more streams, gameplay streams. We'll be back to gameplay streams next week. But if you are celebrating Thanksgiving or having any Thanksgiving plans, I hope you have a wonderful time. If you're traveling, please be safe. Because traveling over this weekend, especially with the weather that we have now, can be chaotic. So please be safe. Enjoy your holiday. If you're not celebrating the holiday, enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend. And we will see you next week. I'll post when I will be streaming. My guess is that I will be back on Tuesday. I'm probably going to get back, and I have some stuff that I need to finalize on Monday. So my guess is that I will be back on Tuesday. Probably playing some champions. So good stuff. Looking forward to it. Thank you all for hanging out and listening about PAX. If you have any questions, drop them down below in the comments. And until next time, see you around. Peace.